It does look like Jonathan Trott, because he's wearing the slightly lighter shade of blue pads, I noticed in the previous game. Being worn again.
And opening the bowling from Nepal, we have number 10. Our scoreboard will tell us who that is in a minute. As I said, this is a 6-over-a-side match, and we have field position. We have a point, square cover. In comes first ball of the MCC innings. Oh no. We've full start as the bowler pulled out of his delivery stride, and the umpire signalled that was a full start. So we have a backward point, sort of square cover, short extra cover mid-off on the offside, all saving one as take two. In he comes now, right arm over, and that's bowled, pushed out just behind point on the offside, and there's a comfortable single to get the MCC innings underway, one without loss after the first ball.
I'm going to take a bit of a guess that it's Rajbanshi
opening the bowling. I can't quite. His name is on the back of his shirt, and I can't read it from this distance. But it was a good length ball just outside off stump, which brings Trott now down to face as in he comes now, running away from us, past the umpire, and bowls, and that's just short of a length, and squeezed away by Trott to where roughly third or fourth slip may have been, and it's raced down towards the boundary in front of the pavilion, and that's 4 runs. So MCC move on to 5 without loss after that second ball. It was a good ball, just short of a length outside off stump, and a thick outside edge from Trott's bat, and it just, despite all the rain, it raced away down there towards the pavilion.
It's Sompal Kami who's opening the bowling.
Thank you very much, Jamie. In he comes now, running away from us and towards the stumps, and bowls. It's a straight ball of good length, which Trott pushes out to cover. There's a shy at the stump, a tremendous throw, which hit and is out, and he's been given out. Trott has been run out. Tremendous bit of fielding at cover. It was pushed out the way Trott. He got off to a good start. It was a tremendous throw that hit the stump, and the umpire has given him out. So
there was a split second of hesitation after the ball was struck, and I think that might have just done for him there. Mutual hesitation between both he and
Sangakkara. It's not Sangakkara. The scoreboard is showing Sangakkara, but we think no, can't be. He's not even playing in the side, is it? But he's not even in the squad, so I'm not quite sure.
Sangakkara
So there's a bit of an
it's Mahela Jayawardene.
I think we think so. It's keeping us on our toes here in the media centre as fourth ball of the year. And that's a beautiful shot through mid wicket, and it's a comfortable single. There's a man out there in front of the grandstand, and ball comes in, and that takes the MCC score to 6. This is the second over. The scoreboard is saying that this is Kami bowling. Runs away from us now. Bowls. Swatted cross-bat shot to mid-on. There's a shy at the stumps which misses. And there's no run. So 6 for 1. Sorry, this is still in the first over. It's been so eventful. It's difficult to believe we're still only in the first over. but 6 for 1. Trott was brilliantly run out when he took a sharp single to cover. Shy coming in and hitting the stumps at the bowler's end. As in comes Cumming out to complete this first over. It's a straight ball, it's up in the air, and Stevenson is caught comfortably by the wicketkeeper, and disappointment for him. It was a short, relatively quick ball that he tried to swat through the onside, and the ball went straight up in the air and was comfortably caught by the wicketkeeper, Shah. So tremendous start for Nepal. 2 MCC wickets going in the first over, and it is now 6 for 2. And this is PJ Moor. He's coming in as the new batsman for the MCC.
He's left the game now, left the innings now, but I'm assuming that Stevenson was a last minute change because he's not on any references that I've got.
Well, according to the scoreboard, that was Stevenson batting, but it may not have been.
When I looked at him through the binoculars, I thought he had a look of James Foster about him, but I'm not overly familiar. So
our apologies. Normal service will be resumed.
There is no Stevenson listed as playing for the MCC today, so we'll see.
And the new bowler is Khadka, bowling from the pavilion end, right arm over, and his first ball was straight on about leg stump, and Jayawardene nudges it out to square leg for a comfortable single, which brings Moor. Do we think it's Moor?
It's Peter Moor, yes.
It is definitely Peter Moor. This is where the commentator begins to lose confidence, but this Peter Moor, who's taken guard right-hander, tall man, as he waits as Carter comes into bowl outside the off stump, and that's hit cross bat through the point region. There's a man out there on the boundary in front of the grandstand. Throw comes in, not probably one of his best, but it's gathered up by the man backing up there, and the score moves to 8 for 2.
We're not aided by the fact that the MCC team don't have their names or indeed numbers on the backs of their shirts.
And no, indeed, and this second over in the 6 over a side competition, as Carter comes in now and bowls, and that's a ball outside off stump, which Jayawardene tries to hit through the onside, and manages to make his ground at the bowler's end as the throw comes in, which is backed up, and it's just a single.
Now the scoreboard has changed over to Jayawardene now,
which is
from
something of a relief, as Moore surveys the field and gets ready to prepare to face Carter's 4th ball as he comes in now and bowls, and that's just outside off stump and pushed into the offside for a well taken single, which gets the MCC into double figures. 10 for 2, and MCC are sporting a blue outfit, and Nepal a rather fine two-tonal red and sort of purple, as Carter, who's a right arm over, leaves his mark now, runs in and bowls, and that's a ball of good length on the stumps, which Jayawardene just hits to short mid-wicket, and there's no run. So the score remains at 10 for 2.
Tremendous noise from the crowd when that last wicket fell.
In comes Carter, and that's just short outside the off stump, and Jayawardene was down the pitch and is squirted away through just behind point, and it's going to run over the ropes now, and that's 4 runs. 14 for 2. So a good bit of improvisation there from Jayawardene. He's moved to 7. Moor has 2. So that's end of the second over. And we have a bowling change here at the nursery end. And what looks like some spin, right arm spin of some sort, judging by the rotations being put on the ball as the bowler prepares.
It's
number 25.
Lamichhane?
Lamichhane, who we understand plays for the Delhi Devils, Delhi Daredevils, and has made quite an impact here. So he's obviously a great favourite of the Nepalese crowd. In he comes now and bowls a wrist spin, and that's hit hard. And there was a sharp catch down here at long on. Jayawardene hit it hard. It was not an easy catch, but it will be disappointing for the man down there at long on, and disappointing for the bowler too.
I think that's Anil Sheikh down here.
Anil Sheikh. It's not easy in these conditions. It's wet. The ball will be slippery. It's a white ball. There's a white background. In he comes now and bowls second ball of that over, and that's hit hard by. Has that gone through the field there? It's gone down for 4 now in front of the man's stand. So 4 more to Jayawardene, take him into double figures. 19 for 2.
I think that was Rohit Paudel down there on the boundary, letting that one through.
Yeah, these are difficult conditions. It's still quite dark, and it was a white ball with these empty stands. It's the reverse sweep over the wicketkeeper's head, and that's going to run away. It's a man in hot pursuit, but he's not going to make it, and it crosses the boundary rope now just in front of the black sight screen on the pavilion. And yes, a rather remarkable shot there from Jayawardene. It's the reverse sweep. He was trying to put it down towards the tavern, went over the wicketkeeper's head and ran away. Despite the rain we've had today, the outfield is still pretty quick. And
he didn't quite get it where he wanted or with the power he wanted, but such was the connection, it had enough.
Lamichhane in now and bowls, and Jayawardene this time edges down towards the short long leg, and it's actually a very good bit of running because Moor had backed up well and got comfortably through for the single. 24 now for 2 in the third over. Remember, this is a 6 over a side match, curtailed by rain. Lamichhane in again now past the umpire, and Moor has hit that actually very well placed between the 2 men out there on the deep leg boundary, so it was in the air, but in the end it was safe as it bounced between the 2 of them, and the batsman only managed a single after a very tidy bit of fielding by the Nepalese duo out there in the deep. So the MCC score moves up to 26 for 2. Lamichhane coming to complete his over, and Moor hits that out to the man at deep mid wicket. It's just going to be a single, and takes the score up to 27 for 2 at the halfway mark. Jamie.
Well, based on the first game, you'd have to say that 27 off of the first 3 overs is not going to be enough. At a run rate of 9 and over, would leave them at 56, and really I think they're going to be looking to probably needing to add another 50 off the remaining 3 overs. So if they do that, it's going to be pretty spectacular. The cloud keeps coming in lower and then lifting, lower and then lifting. Some of the buildings in the distance shrouded in a little bit of mist. The rain coming across, sort of blowing across occasionally, but they're out there, and it's fine.
We have another bowling change and we have Gauchan, who's going to bowl the 4th over from the pavilion end. And he comes now, left arm around the wicket, and Moor has hit that not very well actually. It's gone up in the air and it's been caught off the outside edge. I thought it was flying over extra cover, but in fact it was caught the edge and was comfortably caught behind point, and to the great delight of the Nepalese contingent in the crowd, the 3rd MCC wicket has fallen with the score on 27. Jamie.
Yeah, very, very thick edge, just in the opposite direction to what was intended by Peter Moore. Decent catch. It's number 10 who caught it, which was Cami, just down there on the edge of the circle. And again, wild celebrations in the grandstand from the large Nepalese contingent of supporters in today. Good to see.
So that brings, the batsman did cross, so Jayawardene will face the second ball of Shakti Gauchan's over, which will be a thrill for the bowler, no doubt. 27 for 3. In he comes now and bowls. That's short, and it's not quite where Jayawardene wanted it, because he went behind the wicketkeeper off the top edge of a bat as he tried to hit it through square leg, and it's just a single. Didn't quite get that. So Coles, Matt Coles, the Warwickshire player, has come down to face his first ball. Well, at least that's what we were told by the scoreboard.
Are you distrusting?
He's a left-hander. In comes Gauchan now, and bowls. It's slightly short outside the off stump, which Coles tries to put through the onside. Fails to make contact.
It's a little bit flatter, wasn't it?
Yeah, and well taken and no run. 28 for 3 now. This is the 4th ball of the 4th over in the 6 over a side. He's got hold of that one this time. It's one bounce to the man at deep mid-wicket, and they'll get just the single. So Coles is away, and 29 for 3 now. Only 2 overs after this, and 2 balls in this over.
Yeah, the
Jayawardene surveys the field, looking for the gaps.
They need Jayawardene to stay out there.
He's looking both on the offside and the onside. So what's going through his mind now as Gauchan comes in? It's a short outside the leg stump. Jayawardene fails to make contact. The bowler puts his hands to his head. Does that mean it was close? Must have been close to the leg stump, judging by the bowler's reaction.
I think it was close to the leg stump. I think there's a little. I've seen a couple of looks of disbelief from batsmen today at wides not being signalled. Not sure whether there's been anything said.
Gauchan now to Jayawardene. Reverse sweep this time, and that's going to go down for 4. 1, 2, 2 bounces over the 3rd man boundary. 3rd man was up, so it was high, but there was no chance of any catch. Perfectly safe and rather cleverly played, actually. 4 runs, which takes the score to 33, the end of the MCC's 4th over in this 6 over abbreviated innings.
So yeah, 2 to go and 33 only on the board. I should think I'd certainly be trying to look at 60 really as a benchmark from here, but 12 balls only to do it in.
So we've got another bowling change, and delighted to mention actually we have a special guest in the interval. It's Peter Della Penna, who's the Cricket Info Associate cricket expert, so be very good to hear some of his knowledge and words of wisdom. We've got a bowling change here, I think, haven't we, at the nursery end? We've got the left arm over.
It's Gauchan.
No, it's Vezaka bowls his first ball.
Sorry, So
We've just finished. The which goes out on the offside behind square, and the wicketkeeper fields, shies at the stump and fails to hit the stumps, and the batsman cross, never in any real danger of being run out there. But the score now is 34. Jayawardene again studying the field very carefully. Where are the gaps? Where are the opportunities? As Fazaka runs away from us now, past the umpire and bowls left arm over, it's outside the off stump, and Jayawardene tries to force it through the offside and fails to make contact, and it goes through to the wicketkeeper. So another dot ball.
Just trying to guide that a little bit, wasn't he? Guide that maybe through the backward point, third man region.
Which is largely unprotected. There's just one man on the boundary there on the offside. If he'd managed to beat the man in the ring there, it would have raced away down the slope for 4, but failed to make contact. 34 for 3 now in this penultimate over as Fazaka comes in now, and that's just outside off stump, and he's got it away this time, Jayawardene. It's going to be 2, I think. Yes, as the man of third man makes a good stop to prevent 4, and throw coming in now, well fielded, and score up to 36 now.
I think the umpire was just pondering whether that was 4 or not, and they're just waiting on something at the moment. No 2's been given.
In comes the bowler and bowls left arm over the wicket. That's nicely struck by Jayawardene, but it's only going to be a single down to long off. And as the ball comes back in, I've just been passed the note to say that this match and the next match are now being live streamed on YouTube. So if you go to a link, UK Nepal Live TV. Oh, that's sorry. I've just been told that's the name of the YouTube channel. It's UK Nepal Live TV. So it is being live streamed if you want to see the pictures. And that's hit up in the air by Coles. I think it's going to be caught. Man under it. Oh, it was a difficult catch, swirling catch, slippery ball, and it was very difficult to judge. And Coles survives. More drama here. 38 for 3.
That went a long way up. We've seen a few steeplers that have been dropped today, but I'm going to defend the fielders because you've only got to look at the flag, particularly on top of the grandstand, the MCC flag, and there is quite a breeze going across the ground today, so those particularly high ones, definitely not easy.
So in comes Bhandari, the unlucky bowler. In he comes in again, bowls, and that was outside off stump, and Jayawardene was trying to flick it through the onside. Had his eye on that shorter boundary, didn't make contact, went through to the wicketkeeper, and that's the end of the penultimate over of the MCC innings, and the score is 38 for 3.
Well, on the face of it, you'd say that the MCC are very light here on 38 with 6 balls to go, and that it ought to be a straightforward run chase for Nepal, but never say what you expect should happen, because the opposite will happen.
Yes, it's quite difficult to call these 6-over matches in my short experience of them. First one being today. And I think we have another bowling change for the we've got Cammy coming back.
Coming back, he bowled from this end, didn't he, from the media centre end.
So he's coming back to complete the MCC innings from bowling from the pavilion end. Umpires wearing black, as it's a white ball match, black sight screens. As in he comes now, running towards us, past the umpire, right arm over and bowls outside off stump, and Coles, the left-handed Coles, tries to hit it into the Warner stand and fails to make contact, and there is no run as it goes through to the wicketkeeper. So another dot ball, like gold dot balls in a 6 over
tried to hit
match.
that somewhere towards Paddington Station.
Yeah, it was
didn't he?
that
Some
sort of direction.
distance away.
Failed to make contact. There's 5 balls now remaining of the MCC innings as Cammy comes in now and bowls. That's straight on the stumps, shorter this time, and Coles makes contact. There's a shy at the stumps at the bowler's end, and there could be an overthrow here. Yes, the man backing up couldn't get around in time but it's only 1 extra, so it's only 40 now for 3 for the MCC. 4 balls left in their innings.
If they could get to 50, that would be something minorly psychological, maybe.
So Cammy to Coles, as Coles moves across his stump and goes for a big hit over mid-wicket, fails to make contact again, and through to the wicket-keeper, and another dot ball.
Seemed to get a bit of a way swing then.
I think so, yes, quite possibly. Well, Coles, given the angle of the bowler, Coles was definitely playing across the line, which made it that extra challenge. Failed to make contact, but he's got his eye on that short leg side boundary. We've now got 3 balls remaining of the MCC innings, and that's outside. Well, that's outside the leg stump. And again, Coles tries to hit it through the onside and actually fails to make contact, and it hits him around the shoulder and runs out on the onside, and somewhat distracted by being struck, he didn't manage to take a single. Jayawardene has come down the pitch to have a word. Maybe a suggestion as to how they're going to play these last 2 balls. As Cammy walks away from us, shining the ball. He's reached his mark now, and he runs away from the pavilion, picking up speed and bowls. That's short, and Coles has got hold of it this time. Is he going to be caught? I think he is. Yes, well held. Good catch on the long on boundary. Coles finally made contact, but it wasn't enough, and very well caught down there in front of the Warner stand. And the 4th MCC wicket goes, and another fine blow for Nepal. So that's 40 for 4 now as Coles walks off.
And also potentially significant, the batsman didn't manage to cross despite the length of time the ball was in the air. So Jayawardene will be at the non-striker's end for the final delivery. It remains to be seen who the new man coming out is. I'll leave that to you to describe.
So the new batsman is going to just have a single ball to make an impact on this MCC innings. And so well bowled Cammy, and well caught by Karan. Low catch at deep long on. Very well taken indeed. It's a left-hander taking guard now. Mark Watt. He's having a look around the field now. And so this Cam is keen to get into his delivery stride. The ball's been thrown to him now by the umpire. Watt is ready. As Cammy comes in now for the final ball of the MCC innings. He bowls, and it's a good ball outside off stump, and Watt fails to make contact. And there it is, that's the end of the MCC innings. They only managed 40, which is the lowest of the 3 innings we've had so far. So well played, Nepal.
Well, yeah, I was going to say not so much for me an under par batting display, but more a superb bowling performance from Nepal, particularly Cammy. 2 overs, no maidens, 2 for 8. Superb figures in the context of any game, but especially in the context of a 6-over game.
Well played indeed. And Jayawardene was undefeated on 24. A great thrill to see him back here at Lord's. So 40 for 4. Jayawardene not out 24. Trott run out 4. Very fine piece of fielding at cover point there, and a good throw to the bowler's end, which ran him out. Stevenson caught Sam bowled Kami without scoring. Moore caught Kami bowled Gauchan for 6. And Coles caught Karan by bowled Kami 5. And Watt just faced a solitary ball and was left undefeated without scoring. So 40 for 4 for the MCC in the 6-over match. Jamie, any final words for you before we...
I don't think the chase will be as simple as it looks necessarily, because I'm hedging my bets and sitting on fences and all the rest. But it does look obviously an under par score. So I would be expecting perhaps.
Just quickly give you the bowling figures. Kami, as we said, did 2 overs, 2 for 8. Tremendous performance from him. Khadka 1 over for 7. Lamichhane 1 over for 13. Gauchan 1 over, 1 wicket for 6 runs. And Bhandari bowled 1 over, tidy over, no wicket for 5. So a very tidy bowling performance from Nepal indeed. As ground staff come out now and get ready for the Nepal innings. I think there's going to be a change in the commentary box. Yeah, we've got just 1 second.
Yeah, so thanks, James. As he said earlier, we have got, I'm not sure what your correct title is, Peter, but we have Associate Cricket Guru Peter Delapenna with us. Is your microphone working, Peter?
We're all clear, we're all good here.
Yeah, you're all good. Peter, if I could start with, we've seen about 2,000 fans, we reckon, from Nepal in the Mountain have been massively raucous today. How big is the international coming up in the sort of context of Nepal cricket and associate nations in general?
Well, Nepal in particular, now that Afghanistan has got full member test status, Nepal has, I guess, the most commanding fan base, the most commanding following, and the fact that they secured ODI status in Zimbabwe, the World Cup qualifier, just magnifies that exponentially. And when they get the chance to come out to Lords on a day like today, even as miserable and blustery and cold as it is today, you know, you have a month of nothing but dry, searing heat, and then Nepal shows up, and what happens? They bring the rain with them.
Yes, and you showed up, the listeners can't see, but in your board shorts and an overcoat.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, the point is, 2,000 fans here on the worst day in the last month and a half, and you can't turn them away. I mean, that's how excited they are for an occasion like this. The fact that they get to take on an MCC side captained by Jayawardene, and talking to the fans yesterday who were here for the training session, I think they're actually more excited this time around for the match that's supposed to follow, that being a T20 International. When they were here 2 years ago, it was just against the MCC, but the fact that they had that T20 International status stripped by a poor finish at the 2015 World T20 qualifier, this is going to be the first T20 International in 3 years, and it's a momentous occasion in that sense. And then obviously later this week they're going to go to Amsterdam and play the first ever one-day international, so it's a great time to be a Nepal fan, and it's a great opportunity just to showcase associate cricket here at Lords.
And you talked about them getting their ODI status in the World Cup qualifiers. That was an extraordinary story, and you described it as perhaps the biggest day in Nepalese cricket history. Do you want to take us through that for some of our listeners who may not know that story?
Well, those are the words of Paris Khadka, the captain. Some people might argue that their biggest day was 3 years earlier when they qualified for the T20 World Cup for the first time, and they went to Bangladesh and they beat Hong Kong in their first match, and they beat Afghanistan at the T20 World Cup, and that was in front of a global TV audience and their first time being in an major ICC global event. But he says no, getting ODI status, that trumps that, and it was more the manner and how they did it. If you rewind a little bit, a month earlier they were in Namibia at World Cricket League Division 2. That was the lead-in tournament to qualify for the tournament in Zimbabwe. And they had 3 victories that came either on the last ball or on the last wicket, including against Canada in the final day of round-robin play, which was a last ball, last wicket win. And it was just an extraordinary journey to get to Zimbabwe. And then, despite having a couple of losses in the group stage, the results configured that they entered the losers bracket playoffs with a chance at ODI status. They beat Papua New Guinea, and on the other side, Netherlands beat Hong Kong, and the combination of those 2 results secured ODI status for Nepal and actually relinquished ODI status for both Papua New Guinea and Hong Kong. So there's a balancing act there. It was a great occasion for Nepal, but you feel for Hong Kong and Papua New Guinea that they're not able to maintain that status. And a lot of people would say, why have to strip it entirely? Why can't they all have that status? Because all 3 of those teams are certainly good enough.
And you talk about stripping status. The players have come out. The 5-minute bell's just rung. Unfortunately, we have a 6-minute interval to talk to you, Peter. But as we watch, I think that is... Unfortunately, there are no player names on the back of the MCC players, but we're going to see the first ball bowled in...
Looks like Matt Coles.
Matt Coles, that's right. And we're expecting Shah and Malla to open the batting. But there's a lot of criticism, and I know you've been vocal about this, about cricket contracting. And you talk about losing their ODI status to Papua New Guinea and Hong Kong as Coles bowls, and that's down the leg side, and there's a pull and a miss, and a wide signal by the umpire, standing umpires of Debenham and Hago, and a wide, quite rightly signalled, that's down the leg side. One slip, the men out are at deep cover, and I think, in fact, that is the only man out of the ring, so an unusually attacking field for a 2020. But cricket...
Subash Khakurel is opening the batting with Anil Saad.
Thank you.
In.
Unfortunately, my eyes aren't good enough, as that's flicked into the leg side and Nepal are off the mark. Flicked nicely to the fielder down there at deep mid-wicket, and they get through for 2. But there's been a lot of criticism about the World Cup, Peter, and that's contracting. And is that something you also think people should be looking at, is the fact that these associates are limited as to the number of one-day accredited sides there can be?
Well, in kind of conjunction with that, there's a misconception about why the World Cup gets reduced.
As Coles bowls, and Khakurel is driven it straight back to Coles, and he's got one hand on it, but they'll get through for a single.
The misunderstanding is that by reducing the number of teams, you're reducing the length of the tournament, because one of the chief complaints is it's too long and it goes on forever. And that's just not the case. Cutting it from 14 to 10 teams has only reduced the length of the World Cup by, I think, 1 or 2 days. You still have 49 matches because of the contract stipulations. They need a set number of games, and that's to guarantee that India gets on TV X amount of times. So it's a false conception.
Coles bowls, and that's flicked by Saar straight to the man fielding at mid-on, and there's no run.
It's a false conception to claim that you're reducing the teams, you're improving the strength of the tournament, and you're making it shorter to make it more interesting. That's just not the case, and there's been a lot of research and statistical analytical work to show that the associate teams actually play some of the most competitive matches, tournament in, tournament out, and there's no reason why they should be kept out.
Coles bowls to Saar, and that's flicked up in the air. That's gone over the fielder at long on. It might plug as it lands, but no, it rolls into the cow corner boundary for 4 runs. So the first boundary for Nepal. They move on to 8 for none in the first over, and they are coasting currently to that target of 41 set by the MCC.
Anil Saar scored a century in one of the warm-up games. They played 4 matches against club sides leading into this day at Lords, and he, along with Paris Khadka, scored centuries, and he's a young batsman, Saar, and if he can step up, they're looking for more batting depth, and it would be great for him to do that.
Coles bowls down the leg side again. That's not... Oh, it is signalled a wide, quite rightly. That did go past the leg stump, and those are the rules. It went straight through to the keeper, so we'll have to bowl that one again. And we saw Lamichhane bowl today. He didn't have the best of overs, but he's an emerging star, isn't he? A teen star in Nepal. He's played 3 matches for the Delhi Daredevils. Is that the way forward, do you think? Nepal players increasingly playing in these franchise tournaments? As Coles bowls his 5th ball, and that's gone straight through to the keeper. There's an appeal from Coles, but I think it's missed everything, and there's no run.
The only way, or the best way, for these guys to improve and test their skills is to get exposure in these franchise tournaments where they're getting to mingle with players from full member nations. And not only has he gotten the opportunity to do that, but he shined in the chances he's got with Daredevils, and more recently in the Global T20 Canada.
Coles is in, and that's outside the off stump, and Sark gives himself some room but isn't able to connect. So that's the end of the first over, 9 for none.
You know, and it's a case of, again, just pure opportunity, whether it's the teams broadly scheduling more matches between the likes of Nepal or Netherlands against full members, and it's great that the Netherlands are going to be in the 13-team ODI league coming up in a few years. But you know, individually, the players, when they get opportunities to be drafted or be auctioned in the IPO or the Caribbean Premier League or the Global T20 Canada, whatever, and they're getting to stand shoulder to shoulder with the likes of Chris Gale or even some of the younger Indian stars like Rishabh Pant, who was a teammate of Delhi Daredevils, who's in the touring squad for England. Now, they're only going to improve, and Lamichhane is only 17. He's going to be the first global superstar for Nepal. Within Nepal domestically, Paris Khadka is far and away the #1 most popular player, but he's kind of heading towards the tail end of his career now. He's been the captain for a decade, and he's only got a few years left in him. Lamichhane has an opportunity to be the first real global superstar for Nepal.
Khakurel's going to be facing Evans, who's going to be bowling his first over. That's outside the off stump, and that's off the outside edge to the man fielding it, deep third man, and they will take a single. And Peter, you mentioned Afghanistan just got test status. Is Afghanistan now the template for a country like Nepal for growing its cricket and trying to make the step up into the bigger leagues?
I think everybody's looking up to Nepal, looking up to Afghanistan. It's not just Nepal. All the associates, the journey that they took from Division 5 is just the stuff of dreams, and Nepal took a very similar journey.
As Evans bowls, and that's again glided down a little bit wider this time, but third man will cut it off, and that's only a single to Shah, 11 for none.
The passion in both countries is very similar too. Even in domestic matches in Afghanistan and as well as Nepal, you'll get 10,000, 15,000 people to show up at games in Kabul and also in Kathmandu at the Tribhuvan Stadium. There's something called the Everest Premier League. They've got their own T20 domestic competition. It doesn't have as much.
Another franchise to clutter up the system. Evans bowls, and that's pulled, and it's pulled into the wide open spaces out there. There's a fielder at deep mid wicket. Will again cut it off, and that's 12 for none. Nepal have moved on to.
Doesn't have as much notoriety as obviously some of the other full member franchise competitions, but they've had some overseas stars. Sikandar Raza, I think, is signed up to go there from Zimbabwe. Last year they had Farviz Maharoof, the former Sri Lankan international, captain one of the teams. So they are getting a good mixture of overseas talent to help improve the standard and get their guys opportunities within Nepal.
Evans over the wicket to Shah, and that's an outside edge that's gone over the head of the wicketkeeper, and it's flown to the backstop position to the boundary for 4 runs. So the second boundary for Shah moves on to 9, 16 for none.
That competition, I was talking with one of the organizers who was involved with that yesterday, has a first prize of $20,000 US, which might not sound like a lot, but in Nepalese rupees, it's phenomenal, and helps professionalize the players. Aside from Lamichhane, you're getting more of their first choice players on some sort of pay scale, which helps them focus on the game.
Evans to Shah, and that's nicked. Oh no, it's not nicked. I thought that had gone off the outside edge, but it's just gone straight to the wicketkeeper, so a dot ball.
And all those things, whether it's in Afghanistan, Nepal, even the USA, which is my main beat, they've got a host of T20 kind of upstart competitions that are not formally sanctioned by the ICC, but you get quite a lot of overseas players coming in and mix in with the players.
Evans to Shah, and that's a leg stump Yorker that's gone straight through to the keeper. A good delivery. At the end of the second over, 16 for none. Yes, so you say your main beat is the US. We've seen the Canadian T20 league that's just started up, but there hasn't been as much growth of cricket in America as you might expect given the populations there. And I was wondering now, with the recent restructurings, what you think about the US Cricket Board and the way that cricket's going to develop in the United States.
Well, there have been a number of false dawns with T20 competitions. There was a rumored one a couple years ago with New Zealand cricket that was going to start in 2012 and never got off the ground. There was one announced a year or two ago that was going to be an 18 franchise competition. that USACA had announced a $70 million arrangement, and that obviously hasn't happened. So part of the reason why is because of the governance issues. Now that you have the governance looking like it's being sorted out, USACA was expelled, the new USA Cricket governing body is just having their elections this week. Unfortunately, USA has missed the boat on the T20 franchise bandwagon over the last decade. But if they can get things organized, they've had games like the Caribbean Premier League, which is going to return next month.
Douthwaite's coming into the attack, right arm, medium fast, around the wicket, and he's into Khakurel, and that's defended off the back foot, and there's no run.
Next Saturday and Sunday, you're going to have the West Indies play Bangladesh in a couple of T20 internationals. You had 2 years ago the West Indies play India in a couple of T20 internationals. So the appetite is there. Those India-West Indies games sold out. The Caribbean Premier League always draws quite well. It's just a matter of getting a more formalized domestic T20 competition in order.
As there's a wide bowled by Douthwaite down the leg side, and he's going to have to bowl that one again. Nepal currently coasting 17 for none, and that'll please the amassed fans in the Mound stand.
But despite not having a formal competition, like I said, you get these kind of smaller scale private competitions, and you'll get guys like Dwayne Bravo, Chris Gale. They'll come in and play as guest players, and it does help the standard for the local guys to learn off those guys.
Douthwaite around the wicket, and that's heaved by Khakurel into the leg side, where it's fielded at long on, and they take a single.
We've had even a couple of years ago, Paris Khadka, Sharad Vasakar, two guys from Nepal. They've come and play in something called the U.S. Open in Florida that takes place. It's been taking place, I think, 8 or 9 years now in Florida. Every December, there's a $75,000 first place prize for that competition. You get number of former Pakistani players. Shoaib Akhtar came to that a couple of years ago. So it has its own set of fans.
Douthwaite into Shah. That's gone straight up in the air. There's a fielder at backward point. Oh, he's taken a brilliant catch. A brilliant catch down there. The backward point fielder ran past the wicketkeeper and caught it quite brilliantly down there by the boundary. And if I sound a little bit underwhelmed, it's because Nepal are so coasting this. And in a 6-over match, you rather fancy that even with the wicket of Shah, who's gone for 9 now, they're still going to get to this target very easily. 23 off 22 balls as they move to 18 for 1. Well, Peter, it's been fantastic having you. I hope you'll come back later in one of the intervals, as I can see my people hovering behind me. I don't know if people want to move in. But can you stay with us for the rest of this innings, or do you have to move on? You can stay with the rest of this innings? Sorry, we're looking at our boss, Adam at the back. Well, if you can, I think the only polite thing for me to do would be to change at the end of this over with my other natural commentary partner, although you're very welcome to stay, Ben, and he's going to come in and he'll talk to you. But we're wondering, you talk about governance in regards to the US. Is the main issue, do you think, with associate cricket the lack of structures, or is it money from the ICC? Because we've seen since the sort of post-Big Three era, the ICC trying to become a little bit more equilateral in shedding its revenues. But is that something that really is lacking? Still, it's the money for places like Nepal. As Douthwaite bowls are wide down the leg side, I suspect. Yes, it's signalled.
As much as the ICC needs to invest just for the overall growth of the game, and that is a priority, at some point these countries have to have some sort of self-determination and self-sufficiency. You can't just be depending on ICC handouts forever. And USA is a great example of that. They're the most commercially robust sports market in the world, and they can't raise a dime for the cricket in the country.
Douthwaite into Khakurel, and there's no run there as it's attempted to be flicked into the leg side.
For the longest time, if you look at the USACA tax returns, which document all of their funding or lack thereof and questionable spending habits, the balance sheets show 85-90% of their funding every year came from the ICC, and the other portion.
Douthwaite's in, and that's defended off the front foot to the fielder at backward point, and there is no run. I just want to make a slight correction. The fielder who caught Sar on 9, it wasn't the fielder at backward point, it was the fielder fielding on the leg side, Mark Watt, who took a very, very good catch off Douthwaite. as he comes into bowl to Khakurel. Malla, the non-strike batsman, still hasn't faced, but that's flicked beautifully. A beautiful leg side glance to the leg side boundary from Khakurel for 4 runs. So he moves on to 10, 23 for 1.
85-90% of their funding was from the ICC, and the other 10%, 15% was basically from member subscriptions. If you had clubs paying $100 a year to be their USACA membership rate, but you're not getting sponsorships from McDonald's or Coca-Cola or Nike or United Airlines. Take your pick of American multinationals who are involved in sports globally, whether it's Olympic sports, McDonald's, MasterCard. Pepsi is a huge sponsor of the ICC, and Indranoi, who's based out of the U.S., is now an ICC independent director. She's the chief executive of Pepsi. I know she has made appearances in Chicago at local cricket events.
Yep.
And it's not that there's a lack of interest in cricket in the U.S., but there's always been a hesitancy to get involved formally in a corporate sense because of the bad reputation that has been there for so long with USACA. Now that they're gone and you have an opportunity to get a fresh start, it'll be curious to see what happens and what kind of investment they do fetch.
We're having a bowling change. It's right arm orthodox to Malla, who gets off with the first ball of the over. It goes out to the man fielding a point, and they take a single.
But how embarrassing is it that a country like the USA can't get sponsorship for a national team? They can't be depending on the ICC for everything. At some point, you've got to raise your own funds.
And that's driven this time by Malla off the back foot down to the fielder at long off, and there's a single.
Nepal doesn't struggle as much with that. Afghanistan has really never struggled with that. Afghanistan's funding has been phenomenal. Nepal, more or less, the only reason they are struggling with funding a little bit at the moment is because they've gone through similar governance issues to the USA. They're currently under ICC suspension themselves.
Smith is in, and that's heaved by Malla into the cow corner region, where he bisects the 2 fielders perfectly, and that's trickled to the boundary for 4 runs. So his first boundary, 5 off 2 balls, 29 for 1. I'm going to leave you, Peter, and I think I should let Ben come in. It's only fair. It's only fair. But perhaps one final ball, and then you can continue about Nepal. As that is swept beautifully over the head of the fielder down there at mid-wicket for 6. Well, I'm sorry, I've taken the best shot of the match from you, Ben. But Peter, please continue telling us about how Nepal are going to rise up, and I'm going to make way for Ben Sims.
Gyanendra Malla with the 6 over square leg, and for fans who are not familiar with him, he along with Khadka have really driven the batting for Nepal over the last decade, and Malla is arguably the more elegant and dynamic of the two, and he shows it right there with that shot.
Smith in again, right arm finger spin, and that's just nudged into the offside by Malla for a single picked up in the covers. Very good afternoon to you, Peter.
Good afternoon, Ben.
So what can you tell us about the character of this Nepal team?
Well, they're just a very young side coming up now. Some of the older guys are on the way out, like
Smith comes in, and that's just nudged into square leg as they pick up another single to finish over, 37 for 1.
Shakti Gauchan, who announced before this tour that he's retiring, he's obviously on his way out. Paras Khadka is a bit older now. Gyanendra Malla is a bit older now. So what's going to drive them forward as an ODI nation is the type of player like Sandeep Lamichhane, the type of player like Anil Shah, who opened the batting, the type of player, another youngster who hopefully will get a chance to bat later today. It's not going to happen in this match. But Rohit Paudel, who's 15 years old, who, if he does make his debut in the T20 International against the Netherlands, would be, I believe, the second youngest player ever to play a T20 International. And Nepal has probably taken such a long time to get ODI status because they've struggled to regenerate the depth in the squad over the several many years. It's always been, if Paras Khadka or Gyanendra Malla don't score runs, they can't win. That's starting to change.
So what in left arm orthodox spin bowler to Khakurel, who just nudges it to point, and there is no run. Nepal just need 4 runs to win off these final 2 overs. You'd expect one of these deliveries is going to be the lot. As Watstoner's marks just a short run up as he's in now, bowls, and that's a good delivery which played cautiously by Khakurel, just nudges it, ends up along the floor to slip. So who are the heroes of the Nepal team currently, back home, and for the guys in the stands here?
Well, everybody started chanting Shakti, Shakti when he came on.
What's in now, and again that's a good delivery on a length just outside off stump, and there's a bit of a swish at that by Khakurel, but it doesn't make any contact, so it remains 4 runs to win.
People are obviously going to be keen to see Shakti Gauchan on this tour, since it's his last tour before retiring.
What in now, and Khakurel sachets down the pitch. Will that go for 4 through the covers? Yes, it will, and that's the win for Nepal. Great performance from them, from this young team, as you mentioned, and I can tell you what, the Nepalese fans here have gone absolutely crazy at that victory.
You can hear the whistles. Pretty soon they're going to start breaking out into their Nepal, Nepal chant too, which is anywhere you go, it's a familiar sound with the Nepal team. And hopefully this is, from the Nepal perspective, the emphatic nature of this victory is a sign that they can continue that on the rest of this tour. They've had 3 wins in their first 4 matches playing against the club competition at the start of this tour. They come in today with a win over the MCC, captained by Mahela Jayawardene, and now they've got about 15-20 minutes of break before what I think a lot of fans feel is actually the premier match. The fact that it does have the T20 international status against the Netherlands. Again, it'll be their first T20 international in over 3 years, or just under 3 years, since they appeared at the 2015 World T20 qualifier. And for some people who were able to come here 2 years ago, they got to see Nepal play the MCC. The bigger carrot that's dangling today is getting the opportunity to see them play in an official T20 international status match. And based on the way both Netherlands and Nepal played, it should be quite a compelling contest, I think.
Well, actually, it looked pretty grim earlier on today, but it turns out these 2 6-over-a-side contests have been a little appetizer for what actually is shaping up to be quite an exciting final T20 match between the Netherlands and Nepal. So the crowd here seem very contented despite the weather. So just to go through the card, Nepal, Khakurel was not out 16 at the end of that effort. Saar caught what by Douthwaite for 9, and Malla ended up with 12 not outs as Nepal secured victory with 41 for just the loss of 1 wicket against the MCC. And just say it quietly, the ground's beginning to brighten up here. Those grey bruised clouds have started to turn a slightly nicer shade of white as we move into the final match of the afternoon between the Netherlands and Nepal. So while we've got an expert on US cricket here, I've just got to ask the question, what's the relationship between cricket and baseball out there? Are they competitors?
I would say nothing at all. I get this question a lot. As somebody who grew up playing number sports, including baseball,
yeah,
I don't feel that they're anything similar in a lot of ways. The only thing that they have in common is they both got a bat and a ball, and a team scores more runs than the other team to win the game. But technically, they are so far different. I always try to make the comparison that cricket is much more similar to tennis.
Yeah.
Baseball, you're playing on a totally different plane. Tennis and cricket are virtually the only 2 sports that you're playing the ball off the bounce.
Yeah.
And so for me, my 3 main sports growing up were baseball, tennis, and ice hockey. And the skills, technically, to transfer to be able to play cricket when I first started to learn cricket, which was as a 20-year-old, were much easier to transfer from tennis and from ice hockey, because you're used to playing the ball on the ground or on a lower plane. Tennis, as a tennis player, you're used to reading the wrist position of somebody who's hitting the tennis ball. So you're used to reading spin, backspin, top spin, and you're just generally used to reading the wrist. So if I'm a batsman on strike, I have the kind of muscle memory, the eye memory to look at a bowler's wrist position, see how they're rolling the fingers over the ball when they're bowling the ball, and knowing, having played tennis, how to read the different types of bounce off of a clay court, off of a hard court, off of a grass court,
Yeah.
to be able to know on the kind of pitch I'm playing, what kind of bounce, depending on the wrist position, I have to prepare for to be able to judge the ball and how hard it's going to spin or if it's going to seam or whatnot. And in that sense, I found players or athletes both skills more than come in handy there. And then the other aspect to do with it in the field, again, that I think some people overstate is not having a glove. I've never been injured playing cricket, and I've talked to quite a few people who've played, whether it's baseball or other sports. They've never, as long as their technique is okay, there's nothing truly daunting about trying to field with a cricket ball without using a glove on. And from an American sports perspective, I've always felt the cricket ball leather is almost more akin to an American football type leather. And if people are used to seeing, who follow all sorts of different sports, they're used to seeing Tom Brady or Peyton Manning throw a football. That thing is coming in at top speed. I mean, if you're not prepared to catch that properly at a professional level, you'll break your fingers, or you'll dislocate your fingers. And if you're used to having creating that triangle with your thumbs and your index fingers to catch a football or to catch any sort of ball like that, the technique to catch a cricket ball or to field a cricket ball coming at top speed is not as overwhelming as I think a lot of people think. And it's just a matter of now finding the athletes who have these transferable skills in the U.S. or in other countries and getting them aware of cricket, getting them interested in cricket, and that can be a vehicle to help grow not just